Yeah, people love this business of me winning 10. You know, it's as if 9 is some sort of... It's a bit of a failure.
He is probably the most naturally gifted driver that Australia's ever produced. I said, a few months ago that I thought he'd retired too early.
I knew I was in for a tough road the moment I came across him.
This year in 97 will be my last race against him, and nothing's going to change. I'm still going to try and beat him.
Well, of course, it's our mission to stop that as best we can. Sorry, Brock, but it's just,
We like the night.
Yeah.
There'll have to be a lot of money switching hands for me to pull over on the last lap, that's for sure.
Sorry for the delay.
Well, when we build the cars, we sort of have a name for them. Brock named the car Steffi because we need lots of grunt for Bathurst.
I wonder where that is. Is that my friend?
Hello, Annie.
How are you?
Doing well,
I came to wish you luck.
Thanks, Don. Well, actually, now you're here, we might be back on track again.
Oh, well, I hope so. Can I bring you some good luck?
Advice.
He's remarkably, adaptable. But when you look and you think, okay, he's got to adapt to the left-hand drive in a cramped cabin space. But Derek has to adapt to a circuit that most people find frightening their first time out. So between the two of them, they'll blend it, they'll get there.
These guys let me out here.
I was just going to show him the way around the circuit, is that okay?
Yeah.
He looked a bit confused.
Listen to the crowd, they're loving this.
How can they do it?
Peter Brock, out of the pits.
On a flying lap, we always gear it for out a third about now. Fourth will carry through up here.
So you wouldn't get into sixth gear here?
You could.
Yeah.
But by that stage, you would be going back to my accommodation.
It's out of third into fourth at 6.5.
I'm looking forward to all the uphill section and up to the top of the mountain.
And wait for some people up here I know from the house there. Safe boredom,
There's some nice blonde girls turns up near that post there. And you give her a wave, and you get to have it, just get in the groove of Bathurst. Wave. That's the way it goes.
I think I might be a bit busy, but
okay.
I'll leave the waving to you then.
You need to get in there and try and get on top of that curve. Don't actually get it,
Wheel hiking through there. Close. If I get it right, I can go through here and keep it flat. Now I brake very late here. There's a lot of time to be made up just here.
Now here's the tricky bit.
Right, here we go.
Fourth.
I'm going to hold my breath.
Okay, we're now back to third.
Second down here.
Oh, look at that.
I think I might have a heart attack when I go over the top of Skyline.
Absolutely, you'd think that's
How many heart attacks can you have in one day?
Multiple.
Keep it very close there. Cross the dipper.
Now, here's the skid marks Larry said. This. See,
I don't know what's going to happen down the hill.
you're going to go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the law of physics.
I have to say, it is probably one of the nicest circuits I've ever seen in my life.
It is. Wait till you get around it. Well, the very first time I visited at Bathurst was back in 1966. I was on national service and I'd taken the weekend off to with leave. Wasn't AWOL or anything. And went up the mountain for a look. I mean, I'd heard about it, and there was this big race that was just starting to develop. In fact, it was only in its infancy at Bathurst. But I came away looking at this track saying, I'm inspired. I've got to get out there and race. I've got to get on the other side of this guard railing and do something. And really that's what got me to build my very first special, to get on the track, get my CAMS licence, that sort of thing. The A30 was extraordinarily good for me because it was a cute car, a car that I guess defied everyone's imaginations. An A30 can't go that fast, but of course it was really a Holden with an A30 body shell with about 240 brake horsepower. But it did get me what I needed. It got me in the front door after only 18 months with a works team.
In Rome, it was the Colosseum. In Australia, it's Bathurst, and a mountain circuit, site of this country's greatest road race. No person has played such a commanding role in the story of the 500 as Harry Firth. He's called the Grey Fox, and this is his lair.
I was looking for people who I thought I could mould into my particular way of doing things. And I rang him up and he thought I was having him on, it was someone else, his mates trying to kid him, but eventually he came around and I talked to him.
I was very disciplined that particular weekend in '69. I drove with Des West. We finished third outright, only a matter of seconds behind the winner. I drove carefully, and for that reason, I guess I got a phone call from Harry Firth afterwards saying,
get rid of that thing and I'll build you a real car. That was his beloved A30, you see. Well, that was a bit of a shock to his system.
Yeah, Harry was tough, there's no doubt about that, but a very kind-hearted person at the same token.
He had the touch, and he would accept new ideas very quickly. He could understand what you were talking about. And the other thing about it, he didn't argue the point with you, say that's not how you do it.
You told him to slow down?
No, I haven't told him anything. He knows what to do. I couldn't have done it without having the material to work with, and he was the material.
You needed to have your head right. You needed to focus on things. You needed to have to come to the conclusion that you could do it.
Peter used to say I was too hard on him and everything. I was trying to not let him get too big before his time.
I think as a mentor, he had a very different way of approaching things from other people, but in retrospect, he was very advanced for his time.
I deliberately held him back, because if they suddenly get there and they've got all this, their heads get big and you can't talk to them.
What say we go ring up Brocky and make sure he's out of bed with his rallycross?
This is Brock when he first started. He is slightly uncouth, you could say, he's still a bit of a larrikin. He's still got his beard and everything and his mystic look. He never got out of bed very easily. He'd always half asleep for about half an hour. Even then, like now he's got dogs, that was his breakfast, which the dog ate half of it, of course. Yes, he could actually cook a bit. Well dressed, was a clean t-shirt and jeans. A meal was a hamburger with a lot, washed down with plenty of tea. And he still drinks the tea, but the hamburgers have gone. He's now a vegetarian. He just was quite happy with the basic things of life. He just wanted to exist, but do his motor racing. That's all he lived for, utterly and completely, was his motor racing.
But the third year of the Tirana XU1s, 1972, Harry Firth allowed me to race the car on my own. Now that's the last time that anyone's been allowed to race at Bathurst solo. And I raced against Alan Moffat, who was a fantastic adversary.
I think he was, I won't say braver than I was on the day, but he was certainly throwing his XU1 around with a great deal of aplomb.
It rained, and I'd catch Moffat up over the mountain, and he'd blow me away down Conrod Straight, and I'd catch him up again going up over the mountain. I kept this up for about, I guess it must have been an hour or an hour and a half.
And I was quite conscious of it because it was running through my rear view mirror every lap. That's how close he was.
And eventually I went into around through Reed Park there, and I was nipping at Alan Moffat. I was trying to come up the inside, and I was really pushing at him.
The 69 500 in the Monaro. Look at Bondy. And he's gone. He's gone.
Keeping in mind my teammate Colin Bond had crashed very heavily in the first handful of laps of the race. So there was a sensation around that, look, you know, you only got 2 cars in a race here, don't lose them both.
Moffat will pull out the stops down the straight. Now let's see who leads. Yes, it's Moffat again.
I was confident and I felt like I could do it. So I was attacking Moffat. I came through the inside of him and he just got a little wide. I could see the whites of his eyes in the mirror.
The car went into an aquaplane. I knew I was gone.
And he was sort of, uh-oh.
Moffat's spun. He's up a bank at Reed Park near where Bond went.
And I'll guarantee you as he spun around, the rear taillights of his car missed my front fender by about that much as I sort of whistled by.
That puts Brock and the Holden Tirana into first place.
He finished up off the road, unharmed, got the car going again later on and head off in hot pursuit of me. But that was all I needed. And I was into the lead and away.
The second last time, Peter Brock at the wheel of a car that on this track, this day, has recorded a classic victory.
I was probably the least surprised to win in many respects because I just dreamt of this thing. As far as I was concerned, it was just going to happen. There was no doubt about it.
He can win his 10th, it just depends on the equipment that's underneath his bum.
Yeah, we were taking up the weight for Brocky this year. We're 14s, let Brock win.
No. It'd be nice for him to go out on a pole.
Why not, eh?
Tell you what, Brocky's going to win the whole race, that's that. Who's going to win? Brocky! Go the Holden! Go the Holden! We've got a good crowd up here this weekend. We've got a lot of people coming up. There's about 20 blokes that are up here already in the campsite. But while I'm walking backwards, mate, I can't even see where I'm going, so I'm just relying on the camera just to film me in. And I love my wife and g'day to the boys. I mean, he's going to do it. I know he's going to do it this year.
Almost 3 decades after Fred Gibson and Harry Firth put a Falcon GT in Victory Lane, the era of the great Aussie V8 continues at Mount Panorama. In the late 60s and early 70s, the Bathurst battles between Ford and Holden were legendary. So were these men who fired their artillery.
Well, you can't ever prophesize who's going to win, but you can have a look at who's not going to lose, and I don't think a Ford's going to lose.
All Fords are shit!
Second verse, same as the first.
All Fords are shit!
There was a very, very strong contingent there. Holden on one side, Ford on the other.
He was in the GM camp, I was in the Ford camp, and we both took our responsibilities seriously.
We're nodding acquaintances. I walked by and nod, hi Al.
Probably never actually said anything more than a hello or just a nod at a driver's meeting for almost a decade.
And I mean, if you were seen talking to one of the Ford guys, it was sort of like, hey, what are you talking about? What are you doing over there?
But I never disliked him, which is more than I can say for some of the people that I had to race against.
I found out later on the best way to psych him off was in fact to be pleasant to him. Hi Al, how's it going this weekend? And it threw him because I think for Al to work himself into a sort of a frame of mind where he's going to get out there and sort of demolish the track and get Brock and what have you, he had to get himself sort of steamed up a bit. So to be nice to him was the throwing a real curveball at him.
So it's Falcon, Tirana, Tirana, Falcon. A real Ford Holden sandwich.
I found out later on he and I had a lot in common. He's a great guy and a fantastic competitor.
It's too bad we weren't in the same team together much earlier.
Leave an area now. Brock will step out of the car. Moffat will step in. This was Moffat's debut race last year with the Mobile Holden dealer team. They came up trumps on that occasion.
I think that one of the things that you realise that you need is you need loyalty and you need friendship and you need very clear lines of communication with the people around you. So I guess you end up with a great level of camaraderie, like Mort and George Smith and Fred and Rick and all those sorts of guys that have been around for a long, long time.
I think the things I know about Peter Brock, everyone out there knows. He's brilliant. He's just absolutely brilliant. He's my best friend. The guy is exactly what... You go there to Bathurst, you ask the people in the crowd, and that's the same person I know, and he's my best friend.
This bloke's been around since about the Tirana. Mort's first job with the Tirana was cleaning the door trim with a toothbrush. Exactly.
You know what I told you to jam it, mate.
He deserves a cheer.
We're cruising along and we see this HDT car pull up on the side of the road, so Brock goes, go and pull up, so we get out. And the guy couldn't believe his eyes, you know, here's Peter Brock, God, stop to help me fix my car. We've opened the bonnet and Brock goes, what do you reckon, heck, shit in the carby? And I said, do you think that'll help?
Round Australia Trial 1979 was the single most arduous event that I've ever taken part in my entire life. It was something like 21,000 kilometres, of which about 11,000 were competitive. It was in 14 days. I worked out I got a total of about 30 hours sleep. Now, I can tell you, I was getting pretty wiped out towards the end of that event. In fact, right near the very finish of that, the gear shift got clogged up with all the mush, etc. And I radioed ahead, and I called where the service crew were, and I hadn't seen them for a day or two. And I said, guys, I can't change out of second gear. I'm jammed in second gear. And they said, Brock, yeah, you know, big joke, yeah, winding us up again. I said, I'm serious. You know, I pulled up there and I said, look, this thing is jammed in second gear. This is the end of the rally. We can't win from here. We're going to lose the lead. I was a very relieved person when a guy snuck under there with some dewatering fluid and sprayed the gear shift linkage and wriggled around a bit, came back and said, hey, Brock, hey, it's all cool.
100, fairly slippery.
I was not a rally driver. I was basically written off by the press, I suppose, and by the media in general as being a bit of a PR stunt, just there to raise the profile of the event and don't take Brock seriously. And of course that was like waving a red flag to a bull as far as I was concerned, because I thought, boy, oh boy, if I never needed motivating, that was it.
First in class over 3,000 cc's, $1,000 in Clark, a cheque for $14,000, the car number 05.
Barbara Holden dealer team, Noel Richards, Matt Phillip and Peter Brock.
The magic moments with Brock are when he has a challenge. So probably one of the ones that stands out was Malala, I think 95. And in the first corner of the first race, he was given a little bit of an oopsie. Might have been just a bit of an assist from Johnny Bow, I think it was.
Peter Brock in all sorts of trouble at the back of the field. It was Brock who spun sideways there. He's back in last position. That is a critical blow.
Yes, he can kiss today's activities goodbye.
In 20-minute races, last is not a good place to be.
Well, give it his best, but not very often we see 05 at the back of the field.
And he just must have wound himself up on that day and said, right, and took off.
Listen to the cheers, the grandstand, they're all jumping. Brock from the back of the field up to second.
He came home after that 20-minute race in second place.
But just think how hard Brock has had to work to get from the tail of the field, Mark. He has worked that car hard, himself hard, to get up into this position. That didn't happen by accident.
I mean, you shouldn't be able to do that when all the cars are so even in a 20-minute race. You shouldn't be able to come from last and nearly get first, but that's what he did. That and any wet race, Wanneroo in the wet this year, and at other tracks where the rain comes down, everyone goes, it's raining. Brock goes, this will be a bit of fun.
And just an indication of how slippery it is. You can see the car starting to move around.
I just look at it and say, this is a fantastic opportunity. If you're out there and the weather's being thrown at you, if you don't like it, you're not going to do too well.
Water ski.
No, your eyes aren't playing tricks. It is Peter Brock's 05 on the door of this Ford.
We were racing the Ford Sierras at the Wellington Street race in New Zealand. We had some brake problems, so we called him into the pits to fix the problem. It was my job to stand in front of the car as it came up to stop for the pit stop. So into the pits at 3,000 mile an hour. Of course, the thing didn't stop. And all he could do was sit in the car and laugh. And I've crawled off the side. The boys have fixed the problem. He's looked out the window and says, "You all right?" And I'm, "Thanks, Brock. Yeah, I'll be right." So the boys have fixed the problem. Off he's shot and back out into the race again.
A few years ago, I think it was in Wellington, maybe 92, I think, or maybe a bit earlier. He was in his Commodore flying around there. It was just drying up. It had been wet, and he'd had a problem, and he'd been in the pits, and he was a long way back, like 10th or something, but he was the fastest man on the circuit by 4 or 5 seconds. And you're just sitting there, everyone's just glued to the TV. They're not watching the leaders, they're watching Brock, who's back in 9th or 10th, and here he is with his arm on the windowsill and just trucking on, and it was unbelievable. He's very well known on TV over there now, doing all the ads, ACC ads, and I think he spends more time over there than he does here half the time. He's well-known Australian, that's for sure. I think they've sort of adopted him as an honorary Kiwi.
We'd just like to present you with this presentation of New Zealand pottery for all the great memories you've given us over the year, and also your very loyal support of our car club in New Zealand.
I would say that the way that I'm received in New Zealand is rather extraordinary for an Australian. I mean, I'm in quite sincerely saying that I'm probably treated very much as a local. You know, it's something which us Australians could probably take a leaf out of your books over there in New Zealand in the way that you've made me feel welcome. It's extraordinary.
We have a group that we call the Brock Village, and there's about 300 or 400 Brock supporters come. And we entertain them. They stay for the duration at the village. And it's been an amazing experience to see it evolve over the years.
But everyone here tonight, especially the people from Bathurst, we've had a lot of fond memories up here over the years, and we'd like to do a small presentation, and none better than Carol Dobby to make that presentation.
Thank you. We all know we've got a true legend standing here on the stage. No one is ever going to take Peter Brock's place. And also Bev Brock, because by gee, she's been a tower of strength behind Peter.
There has never been two ambassadors for sport in Australia as Peter and Bev Brock are.
9:30 a.m. and the troops were cold. Backstage, the stars of the Moomba Parade needed encouragement as they tried to keep warm. King Brock was there, but motoring a little slower than usual, and behind him...
That was pretty special time. It was great. I mean, it was a great accolade. He was at the peak of his building his cars. He was doing exceptionally well with his motor racing, and to get that honour at that time was fantastic. But it was just one more of those real great highlights that he's been fortunate enough to have.
It's good amusement for the kids, you know, it's good fun.
That's a long time ago. I mean, he's got the big picture, and he loves being outside, but in the house, it just really doesn't function. If I'm not there, all he can eat is a peanut butter sandwich. I still think he thinks the house gets run by, as he calls it, osmosis.
Can I just heat that up and have that as a bit of backup?
Entree.
Yeah.
Do you know how to work the oven?
No. I'd say press that for ignition.
You know, I think he just sort of thinks these things just happen, that meals sort of... I mean, he knows I cook them, but he doesn't understand the time frame or any of those things, or the fact that, you know, you get clean clothes or the house is clean. Those sort of things just happen.
Do I actually, when I get home, sit back, put my feet up?
You have a shower, you have a cup of tea, you speak on the phone, wait for dinner.
Sign a few things.
Sign the pile that's mounted on the table through the day.
Answer a few phone calls. But basically I try to bludge. I do. I must admit I do.
I guess we've got time to sort all that out in the next few months. Yes.
Brocky number 10! Gotta be Brocky. Love the man, he's a legend.
Brock's ability to focus, I think that's what's always set him apart. I remember there was a promotional slogan for Mount Panorama in the late 70s and early 80s that said, you know, come to Mount Panorama and see Brock drive like the devil. And with the open-faced helmet that he used to run, you could see that when we first brought race cam in, and we put it in Brock's car, shooting back at him, coming down Conrod Straight, Brock gripping the wheel. And he must have the most amazing peripheral vision of anybody I've ever seen. The eyes flare wide open as though he's just drinking everything in. And yet when you see him on the pit lane, he's the most casual, laid-back and relaxed man that you could ever wish to see. And in the space of seconds, he can step into the car and the whole persona changes. And he really does drive like the devil. That's Peter Brock.
Probably Bathurst is definitely an eyes-on place. When he's on the grid at Bathurst or going for a qualifier at Bathurst in the top 10, then you see the eyes on, because he really lifts himself at Bathurst. And at those sorts of places, top 10 shootouts, raining at Bathurst, the eyes go on. It's just these burning black holes, and you wouldn't like to be standing in front of him at that time.
There it goes, 1973, Hardy Firth, 1,000 is off.
73, what a weekend. I mean, we found that by fitting on these big Weber carburettors on this little XU1, which the regulations allowed us to use, that we could really get a few more horsepower out of the car. I think it was 8 horsepower, to be honest with you, nothing much, but you know, it's a psychological advantage. And we went out there in the race knowing we probably had the best package there. My co-driver, Doug Shivers, was in the car, and he was looking good. He'd finished his stint, which in those days was the centre third of the race, and whatever reason, he was given the instruction to continue on to do an extra lap.
Go for maximum laps. They want Shivers to stay up for as long as he can.
And history will show that this was a fateful decision, because he drove down Conrod, around the top of the mountain the car ran out of petrol, and he coasted down Conrod Straight, and he didn't believe the car would roll into pit lane, so he tried to clutch start the engine and give it one little last gasp coming up pit straight into the pits. It succeeded in taking off any momentum the car had. It rolled to a stop before it got to the pits, and Doug Shivers got out and started this agonising sort of push. Now, Shivo would have been about 8 stone wringing wet, and here he was pushing this XU1, which was fitted with big fat racing tyres, and you know, it wasn't easy to push.
Look at Brock, the race is slipping away through his fingers, and he can't do a thing about it. When can we push it, he's asking. They've got to get it moving. Moffat's getting further.
And we're all standing beside him. Come on, Shivo, you can do it, you can do it.
How far, you say? Straining every muscle. Eyes blinded with sweat, oblivious to the pleas of Prada Mechanics and Brock. And Firth in the pit now, worried, desperately worried.
He slowly got it up to the point, the white line marking the entry point to the pits.
And there they go. Now another race against time. And look at the forward, you see Brock shove Shivers to one side. They're down for pleasantries now.
It's a very famous bit of footage where I've got Shivo and I've just flung him out of the way with my left arm, and he's gone reeling backwards into the arms of the officials, whatever, to be carted off to the first aid centre, poor Shivo. And we pushed the car into pit lane, filled it up with juice, I got in, everything else, and away we went.
Is it too late? The gap between Moffat and Brock is down to less than a minute. There's still time for fate to play a role, while for Brock, blue smoke and the screech of tortured rubber signals a shattered tyre. Nothing can catch Moffat now.
It was lost opportunity, I can tell you that, because just, you know, this car was a hot car, but I just always thought that there's always next year.
10 seconds to go, signals the starter. Number 1 in the grid position is Brock.
74, first year of the Toronto L34. A troubled debut for those cars with oil surge and what have you.
And talking of things going down the drain, look at the smoke issuing from the tail of the leader.
I remember driving around in that car and being something like 6 laps ahead at lap 100, then back off and squeeze the brakes on. Do those things according to how you feel. I was under instructions that year. I remember to drive it very slowly and to lap at a certain time, and I was going too fast, etc., and that's what caused the problems. I learnt there a very important lesson. You've really got to drive according to how you feel.
A sad sight for the Holden Dill team as car 1 heads for the back of the pit, so Peter Brock is out of the race.
But I was beginning to feel that Bathurst and I had a very, very special sort of relationship, and I honestly felt that given the opportunity with reliability and everything else, that I could get up there and I could win this Bathurst race again. And of course that happened in 1975, the very next year.
excitement is really mounting to fever pitch as people feel that this was going to be the fastest and the hardest 1000 ever run at Bathurst. Away they go, and Alan Moffat gets going more quickly in first gear. I don't think he's working.
I was driving for a couple of guys in a Melbourne suburbs called Gown and Hindhoff, a couple of engine reconditioning fellas. Very nice fellas, but very much a privateer effort. And we never had very much money to sink into this project. So it'd be fair to say that when we got to Bathurst in 1975, we really had to win to pay the rent. We were short, let's face it.
It is Bond who's got the better gearing and has more acceleration, and it is Brock who's behind who's closed on them both.
75 was a very rewarding year, I think, for the guys that worked on the project.
Brock pulls out, decides that he might like to lead for a change.
Because we realised that we had to work with our pay, and we just worked really for the love of it.
20 kilometres to go now as Peter Brock goes for the last time down through the S's.
And to have gotten up there and to have got that result was, well, we got our rewards later on because we all ended up getting better jobs and getting sponsorship, etc. for the ensuing seasons. But at that time, it was pretty difficult.
That's it, the checkered flag for Peter Brock in the 1975 Hardy Ferodo 1000 at Bathurst.
I was Peter Brock's publicist, stroke manager for the decade of the mid-70s to the mid-80s. He just lost his factory drive and was in a privateer mode and was looking for a bit of money, in actual fact. In doing that, he signed up for the Road Safety Authority in Victoria to do a series of driving safety talks, seminars, whatever. The first thing was that he really believed in it. The government didn't offer anything, nobody offered anything. You just go and get your licence and off you go and have your first prang a week later. And he thought this was all wrong.
He admits he was a maniac himself, but now he's into class driving.
Also, he was after some money. Motor racing was the first of the sponsored sports in this country. There was no sponsorship in footy, cricket or anything. So if you wanted to be a successful driver, you had to do these things, and he was great.
Obviously, the value of seatbelts has been proven in motor racing time after time.
Oh, well, he did all sorts of weird and wonderful commercials. There was alcohol-free beer and a lot of road safety stuff for various networks for various occasions.
What's this? It's a surprise entry. Johnson and Brock can't believe it.
Yes, this was one of the great commercials where Peter Brock and Dick Johnson raced at Sandown against a 10-year-old kid in a mobile Vitabrit. Now, they got nice earnings for this little exercise because it was in Nabisco and ad agency and properly funded and what have you. But they needed someone to drive the Vitabrit, so we got John Harvey, Peter Brock's co-driver, and to drive this Vitabrit, and he complained bitterly about it. And I said, look, it's good value for you. He said, you get $200 and a year's supply of Vitabrits. So Harvey thought this was reasonable and did the job, but it wasn't until afterwards he found out that both Brock and Johnson were getting thousands of dollars, and I don't think he ever forgives us to this day.
What did you have for breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast. I have a Vita breakfast.
No, Dick Johnson's better than you.
Well, it's a matter of opinion.
He's got a faster car than you, I reckon.
Not for long.
Well, what you see out there and what you see in real life are probably two different things. I think we're both sportsmen in our own rights, and we're both very fair. We respect each other's ability, and that's the way we see it on the racetrack. But you don't give them an inch. That's for sure. You don't give anyone an inch.
Peter Brock, the national champion, was relentless. He made a rush trip back to Australia from Le Mans to run at Lakeside, and he wasn't about to finish second.
Well, probably the first year that I was really on the scene head-to-head with Peter was back in 1981. And we went head-to-head right through the whole season, and probably the highlight of the season was the last race of the championship, which was at Lakeside, my hometown. But at the end of the day, we went into that round, I think, of 1 or 2 points the difference, and whoever beat who in the race was going to win the championship. And it was an absolutely magnificent race from start to finish. We were never more than a car length apart, the endurance of the race, and at the end of the day I was fortunate enough to win, but there were a number of times when Peter could have had me off the road or whatever, but he's very fair in that respect and always has been through his career, or since I've known him anyway. He's not the sort of person that would knock you off the road. and if he couldn't win fair and square, he didn't want to win.
Dick Johnson has been a terrific rival for a number of years and is second only to Moffat in terms of the longevity and toughness. John Bowe, Glenn Seaton.
Back in the early days before I even started motor racing, he was really my idol as a race driver.
Mark Scaife.
I have accidentally a couple of times run into Brock, and one of the latest ones was Malala at South Australia. We fired into the first corner up the inside of him, and I got hit from behind and fired into the side of Brock and spun him around and T-boned him. And I mean, only a month later we were racing together, so it was not really the best way to get the relationship formed.
Clearly, but while he was right in the middle of that, he would have been holding his breath, clenching his teeth, hoping everyone got by. The luck's on his side today.
And now we're together. It seems a bit strange. We're in the same team. Obviously we're jumping in the same car, and to drive 05 together at the last couple of races in Peter's career it's a great honour for me.
And latterly, some of the young guys we've been developing in a Holden racing team. I mean, Greg Murphy, Craig Lowndes.
Really, the first time I seen Peter was on TV, running across the top of the mountain there, and it was fantastic. It was always something that I'd love to do, is drive around the mountain. And it was just, as I said, it was just a fantastic opportunity to be a part of Peter's 3 years of his last of his 30 years. It was just fantastic.
When he retired, I worked for Australia's best-selling newspaper. It was on page 1. You know, if Larry Perkins retired tomorrow, or Wayne Gardner or somebody else, it'd make the sports pages. Peter Brock was on page 1. Nothing else bounced him off the front page the next day. You tell me another sports person with that sort of national adulation.
This year, of course, is a very special time. It's one when you decide to change the direction in your life. You figure that, it's really only going to affect yourself and perhaps your family around you and a few close friends. But, when I got to Lakeside, I found that there was a certain level of interest and a mood that was a little different.
It is my honour to represent the motor and broader sporting community in recognising the contribution of one of Australia's
Malala was much the same as far as interest.
Respecting the ideals instilled by his late father that recognised the importance of the family, and by his association and imagery gave encouragement to the young to emulate the same heroic standards as his own.
Oran Park was absolutely incredible. It's one of the most amazing days of my life.
He retained a natural aspect to his personality that some interpreted as abstract, when in fact it represented inner or true strength.
In fact, I said to Bev and Alexandra, come with me at Oran Park because you're going to see something which is, you'll never forget the rest of your life.
Whether one is religious or otherwise, we should pause for a moment and raise our eyes towards the Almighty and thank Him for His divine providence in sustaining Peter during the many risk-taking years of his career, and give thanks that he has survived with all his faculties so that the next generation can benefit from his knowledge, experience and enthusiasm.
And it was extraordinary, and I must admit that when I was going past the crowded grandstand area, it was, pretty difficult to sort of hop back into 05 to do the last race, I can tell you that much. When I was 14-year-old, I cycled across quite a number of miles actually in those days to a local hill climb, and they were very popular events in those days. I was 14 years old, I was keen, I was enthusiastic. I also had a great respect for machinery. I saw a brand new Lotus racing car sitting there, and I walked up to it, carefully bent over, making sure I didn't touch anything on that car, looked inside the cockpit to look at the serial number and the emblem and the dashboard and everything else in there. And I heard this very well-cultured voice behind me say, "Get your grubby little hands out of there." Well, I mean, I was just shocked. I was crushed. And as a kid, I just walked away really very much
with my self-esteem taking a bit of a beating. And I vowed and declared at that time that I'd never speak to anyone like that in my life, as I had a very clear lesson about how I felt. Motor racing has taught me an enormous amount about how to deal with a lot of things in life. I mean, dealing with fame. Fame's a very curious thing. I noticed an article the other day by Kieran Perkins where he was talking about the invasion of privacy, etc. Well, I don't necessarily go along with that, strangely enough. I think that, when you want something that does require the support of a lot of people out there, and it requires them to invest, to follow what you're doing, to do all sorts of things to enable you to actually achieve those goals you set for yourself, well, eventually the penny drops and you realise that you actually wouldn't be there without them.
They love him in droves, they do. People often ask me, sort of how do I handle that, but I've always said I'd much rather be with somebody that people loved than somebody that people didn't like.
I don't know how, in the 4 years I've been involved, he has not missed getting in a car for a practice qualifying or a session or a race at some stage, because he will sign to the nth degree and you say, Peter, you must go. And he says, oh yes, I must go, everybody, as he reaches for another autograph to sign and another autograph to sign.
There is no age limit. I've seen him with 18-month-old babies who sit there and stroke his face. They've never seen him before, and they sit there and they just adore him, right through all ages, right through to 18, 19-year-olds.
He genuinely likes to stand and talk to people. He'll happily sit and sign autographs for hours, listen to people, and he makes them feel special.
Yeah, it's got the Order of Australia.
Fantastic! That's impressive.
Yeah.
He just comes from the heart. He doesn't have any guile or cunning. He doesn't play mind games. What you see is what you get, and people pick up on that.
That's the thing. All these other racing drivers will sign autographs because that's part of the deal. Peter Brock loves talking to people, and they can sense that. They know that a guy's just signing it because he's got to do that.
No, this is what I do. I'm going to give these people their money's worth. I'm going to sign their autographs and have some fun and genuinely have a rapport with them.
Who are you here for?
Peter Brock, of course.
Males and females, I've seen a lot of grown men cry in these last few race meetings because it's the last time they're going to watch him race. And to get that level of emotion from the broad spectrum of people is amazing.
Please.
I better get in the car.
Come on, please, Bags.
Okay.
We're getting changed, thank you.
I'll get changed and we'll catch up later on.
Thanks, Bags.
It's 7:20. This is Sydney's Triple M. Andrew Denton, Amanda Keller and Peter Brock with you. Gee, your fans are genuine fans, aren't they? They really love you.
There's a level of support out there which has astonished me.
How far will they go to show their support for Peter Brock?
Well, the other day a guy asked me to sign my autograph on his back.
Yeah.
I just signed it there, and he came in the next day and he was tattooed on.
I could have written Dick Johnson there,
Oh, I think I would have known. I think I've seen this.
But do you want to show him?
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah. I had to make sure I did it properly too. Now, this is true dedication.
And he doesn't want to say no to everybody, so it makes me probably the most hated person in Australia, because I have to be really nasty to these nice people because Peter will not stop signing autographs.
Go the king of the mountain, Brocky! Go!
I was very lucky about many long years ago, about 15 years ago, I came into contact with Peter Brock as a junior sports reporter on the 7 Network, and this legend of motor racing was going through his paces at the Adelaide International Raceway. I was lucky enough to go and interview him, and then he said, would you like to come for a ride round the track? Well, this was the golden opportunity. It was like the ultimate thing. It was the most perfect thing that could happen to me, and so I did.
We have a touch-off in the Hardy Ferrotto Classic for 79 with Peter Brock 05 for the Marlborough Holden dealer team, zooming up Mountain Straight.
Tirana's on ex-Tirana, 79. That was pretty good as far as victories go. Like the car won by 6 laps or something. I thought that was pretty impressive.
But look at Peter Brock, and the crowd are going wild at the top of the mountain. Here he comes. Listen to the applause, the accolades for a man among men when it comes to race car drivers. Still tidy. Picks up the inside rear wheel that time. Peter Brock is trying and trying hard in this last lap.
Broke the lap record on the last lap of the race. That was another pretty cool moment, I think, for him. Yeah, for sure.
Listen to the crowd warming up. A checkered flag unfolds, a page in history as Peter Brock in the Marlborough Holden dealer team comes across to take the checkered flag.
I had 79, which was I won by a country mile. It wasn't necessarily as fulfilling as you might think. Set the lap record in the last lap. I'd love the opportunity of doing the same thing this weekend. And I can tell you that 1987 was probably the race which gave me the greatest sense of satisfaction.
He was on the pace during the early laps of the 1000 until an engine let go in the 05 Commodore. However, true to the script, Brocky commandeered the backup number 10 Mobil V8 and rejoined the field, turning in a blinder on a treacherous racetrack to finish third behind the Ford Texaco Sierras of Steve Soper and Klaus Ludwig.
Gow engineered that, of course, that Bathurst victory in 87. It was a strategy.
Yeah.
Lose the lead car early, get into the second
Get the
car.
public sympathy going.
Yeah, and then just sort of lead them into a sense of false security, the opposition, and then nail them.
Peter Brock, the third place driver in the Mobil Commodore, comes into the pits.
We're in a pretty critical position. I think we were gaining on the lead Sierras. We were coming third. It was raining. It was a pretty crucial pit stop, and Peter came in, and this was the vital stop of the race, and we were all fired up. So we always have this competition of who finishes first with the wheels, etc. And I was last on that stop because Brock pointed at me as casual as anything and said, "Whack those ones on," as if we had a variety of four for him to choose from.
Well, Brock's just given me the thumbs up. It's the usual confident, happy and positive Peter Brock who's in the car at the moment. He's gone out to time of about 25 seconds and he is gassing in the Commodore. He's put slick tyres on. He's in third position. The drama continues with the Texaco Ford Sierras. Victory number 9 could be on the way. I've seen Brock come from behind in the past and win here against all the odds. Do you think it could be on the cards again, depending on what happens up front?
It's a great tribute to the champion of this man. Peter Brock has been put down by quite a few people in many quarters all season, and just listen to the race fans showing their vote to Brocky as he goes over the hill.
You ask for the man, you ask for him, it's Peter Brock!
I'll tell you what, I gave it absolute heaps, particularly in the wet there in the finish. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself, I might add. And thanks for all your support out there too. I love the way you're cheering me on.
I had legal documents, heavy-duty legal documents, served on me on the Friday afternoon in the pits. I had a book that was released about me, one of those famous unauthorised edition type ones. And generally speaking, a lot of my plans were in total chaos. It was, I guess it's just overcoming some very difficult times in your life. And you sort of sit back and say, oh, there is some justice in the universe, you know.
Yeah, well actually as time goes on the closer we're getting. I think, 15 years ago or something we tended to all head off in different directions. And even though we're still in those different directions, we're a lot closer now than we've ever been. And you get a weekend like this here, for the last Bathurst, it's as much as anything for us, it's a family reunion that we probably might not have, and we couldn't think of a better place to have it. It's fantastic.
Anyway, we're all here this weekend. I've got relatives everywhere, and we're scrounging up pit passes, and we're doing all sorts of things. We've got camping sites down there in the camping area. It's all sort of happening.
No, it was, well, we were all very different. I think, Peter was the only one really interested in the motor racing side of it, I guess, which came really from our father. He used to help a few guys out when he was younger, pit crewing, but he couldn't afford to get into motor racing, and he virtually, started a business to get Peter into motor racing, which obviously worked very well. And the rest of us all then have all sort of joined together and sort of watched and the motor racing over the years. So we've made it into a family thing, but Peter was really the main one who was interested in motor racing as such. We've been telling you this
We started going to Bathurst, of course, with his first drive, and that was an amazing situation. We had a business in which Peter was involved called the Diamond Valley Speed Shop, and Peter sat at the phone there, I reckon, for 3 weeks, waiting for Harry Firth to ring him. He'd had an interview with him and done a test drive. And of course, when Harry rang, Peter was over the moon, and he popped in on his way to Bathurst with the race car. They drove it there, and of course, the next day we hopped in our car and away we went.
Each year for the last 21 years, Mr and Mrs Brock have been coming to this very same site at Mount Panorama to watch Peter race. It's been quite a family performance, so this year we've got a special surprise.
We started off in tents and caravans, the whole lot of us. We had no money, so we used to get a couple of caravans up there and a couple of tents, and those that didn't have room in there would sleep in the cars.
So on behalf of all of us at Seven Sport and motorsport enthusiasts around Australia, enjoy your 21st. And one final question to both of you. Who do you think will win the 1989 Tooheys 1000?
Oh, that's easy, Neil. Peter will win.
Jeff?
Yes, Peter will win.
No doubt. Happy 21st.
Right,
1989 Tooheys 1000, they're racing, and Johnson lights up the tyres. Brock goes with him, and Long has to brilliant start down on the inside, and Brock will win the start. Alan Moffat's car, Klaus Neesvitz will probably drop into third. As they go.
Peter Brock has done what every aspiring race mechanic come racing driver would have loved to have done. Like, he's been an absolute champion, really, both on and off the track. And a lot of people don't realise the things that he does for the underprivileged, for cam quality, the cancer kids, and so on and so forth. We've had a great relationship. It's been great.
They're known as bashers, and this is the 1990 Variety Club Burke to Burnie Bash, or the Reddicks Rally. Believe it or not, they're all on a mission to raise much-needed cash for Australia's needy kids.
They're coming up the outside again, Al pal.
You could get away with that at Bathurst, but you're not going to do it here, buddy.
Hello, Moffat's up beside me again. Here, look at this arch. Well, I tell you what, I won't give you much room here. Whoops. Oh!
Watch the power, Jackie. Okay. Solid before Sierra, but it's fast.
I'm just trying to scare you.
I'm scared enough anyway, Jackie. Please don't make it worse.
Is that you up there, Alan Moffat? Are you in that chopper? You're not going to throw eggs, are you? Come on, Al. Oh! Al, baby! Oh!
And believe it or not, Al and I make an unexpected singing debut.
Do is sing C'est bon, c'est bon.
C'est bon, c'est bon.
It's not bad, not too bad. We need it. Is it? Okay, yes, right. More of a French accent and more sexy.
C'est bon, c'est bon.
And it
Him and Mark would be the strongest driver pairing out there, I feel, and I think they've got a great chance. If their car is reliable, I think they'll win.
Peter Brock made only limited forays overseas. The highlights, an exceptional second place in the Spa 24-hour race in 1977 and winning the King's Cup Teams Trophy in the same event in 1984.
There was always, of course, the love of going somewhere else in the world, the great adventure of being over there and doing Le Mans or Spa or, I guess, places like the British Tourist Trophy. And I must say I enjoyed it.
And we've got some problems here, some major problems. For, of course, the number 5 Mobile Commodore, and would you believe it, it has blown a head gasket again. So that's 2 head gaskets. They're going to drop almost 3 hours in this race. They dropped an hour and a half on the first pit stop, and they've been in the pits now.
Yeah, there was one instance where Peter did come in for a pit stop at Spa, and most of the boys were out the back having a beer at the bar. But Peter did arrive in pit lane and said, "Where the fuck is everybody?" Which we could hear because we had our radios on at the bar. But luckily it was only like probably a 40-metre sprint back to the pits, so we managed to get back and get things rolling again.
And out he goes back into the race with the 05 Mobile Dealer Team car.
Well, we went to Monza in Italy for a 500-kilometre race there as well, and the track was daunting, but not anything like Bathurst. It was basically on the flat, but it had some very tricky chicanes. It was a series of chicanes. I said, "How are you taking that first chicane?"
Yeah, they're going, "Brock, Peter, I don't understand how you're going so fast." I said, "I don't know, well, I'm just driving around the track."
I said, "You're not going over the curb at all? You wouldn't do that, would you?" No. I thought, not that I don't trust him, but I think the next session I'll just walk down to that first chicane and hide in the trees and watch what's going on. And lo and behold, this Commodore arrives out of the sun and full brakes and full noise and full engine and full everything and straight over the curbs.
He said, "Peter, you told me you weren't going over curbs." He said, "Have a look at you."
So I said, "Be sweet, Peter, tell me the truth."
I said, "Well, I didn't really feel him, Al. I mean, the car was there when I went over him."
But he said, "Look, it's a Commodore, it'll take it." I said, "Fine, you better be right, because we're both going to do it."
You know, I always loved coming back to Australia. There was something about it. I loved going away and doing these things, but there was always something stronger back here. The next challenge, I love touring cars. This is where my support base was, my family was, where my footy team was. I mean, we all have these things.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a superstar and a hero, but unfortunately a demented Collingwood supporter, Mr. Peter Brock. On behalf of the North Melbourne Football Club and the football world, can I congratulate you on a fantastic career, and please receive this Outstanding Achievement Award.
Thank you,
Peter Brock.
In Creek round 6, Peter Brock, a Collingwood man, welcome to you.
Oh, the adrenaline's flowing out there.
Is it flowing like that on police camera action we see on Sunday nights at 7:30 on 7? They've made you into some sort of daredevil.
G'day, I'm Peter Brock. I'm the action man, yeah. I drive boats, I hang out of helicopters, I do all sorts of mad things, yeah.
Tell us about the program. I mean, you obviously love it. It is exciting.
It is exciting, and I mean, it never ceases to amaze me the things that people get up to, particularly when they don't think that a television camera or camera of some type isn't there.
Now, I need to do that.
I've heard a whisper that you actually enjoyed taking $500,000 boats out on the bay and ripping through the ocean at 100 kilometres an hour.
They have been doing this under Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Really?
And the director saying, "Well, yes, Peter, you're cool, you do it, you know." But the bottom line of it was, I had all these ferries coming out of Circular Quay, and I had to negotiate them, and I'm out there. Oh, I tell you what,
I've seen you negotiate racetracks around Australia, and you do that very, very well.
He's been a jet skiing. Here we go.
This is fantastic. This doesn't look like work to me. This looks like
this
fun,
is a bit of fun. A bit cool though. It was a bit chilly out there, I can tell you. I do commit the body a bit. It's a bit of all right.
Okay, here we have the race lead change with Peter Brock, Australian touring car champion, taking over the front running.
Well, I think 78 obviously was the first time that I'd driven for Peter at Bathurst, and I mean that was a thrill for me just to be part of the team, because when I came over in 75, I mean I had never seen Peter Brock, he was a star then to me in New Zealand.
This is the great race, and this is the leader in car 5, the lead car of the Marlborough Holden dealer team, Peter Brock.
To get the chance to drive with him was everybody's dream, you know, so that was a high point alone.
Peter Brock is headed for victory, the checkered flag for the 1978 Hardy Firth 1000.
In the race, the car went faultlessly. We led nearly every lap.
The final corner where everyone in pit lane is standing to salute a driver who deserves to win here today.
I just did my stint in the race and did what I was told and came away with a win, which was fantastic.
The checkered flag unfolds for the 1978 champion, Peter Brock, winner of the great race.
The partnership continued until 81. Probably the most memorable run I think we had was in 79. When I think we led every lap of the race, and Peter, just to show how good he was and how good the car was, set the fastest lap of the race and the lap record on the very last lap of the race, and that just showed, you know, how professional, how good a driver he was.
I would have to say that a lot of what I do is intuitive. It's a you know, just going with, I guess, the God-given talents that you actually are given, rather than trying to get your head in the way to analyse these things and intellectualise them. I've just got out there and done it. I've enjoyed it, and I've loved doing it. And when you have that sort of passion and commitment to anything you do in life, you're going to do it well.
They're making a documentary on you?
Yeah.
What, are they hard up for things to do?
They are.
Jesus.
If you wouldn't mind giving them sort of some heavily edited version of...
What, something about how nice a guy you are? Yeah, I can do that. How much money you got? When I went to his house for lunch.
Oh, for the wild kangaroos.
Yeah, I know.
So, come in and she started eating his sandwich out of his hand.
Yeah, but the thing was, I said to him, the first time I'd been in Australia, and I said, geez, there's a kangaroo outside the window. And he said, I wonder if we open the door, will it come in, do you think? And Bev, she said, nah, it won't come in because they're wild. She slides the door open, this thing hopped in and took the roll off my plate. And I'm gobsmacked, I can't believe this. And he says, Tilly, put that roll down. You bastard. Set up.
It was the best one of all time.
It was brilliant.
It's the only time he can win his 10th. It's he comes here every year, the same time. It'd be cheating the fans and everybody to say he won his 10th in a fortnight's time. This is it.
I had a very good association with the HDT and Peter Brock. It started in 82, and Peter hired me to run his workshop and co-drive with him, and first up we won in 82, went on to win in 83, and this one here is the final one, the win in 84, and we got on very well, and as I say, results speak for himself, and an era though that I have a lot of good memories of.
He's the legend, isn't he? There's nobody that's quite matched Brock's performances on the track and off the track over time. When he leaves the sport, I think there'll be a gaping hole that'll take a few years to fill.
Today, the master of Mount Panorama, Peter Brock, joins our team.
I'm here, mate.
Oh, so glad. We need you.
Where
are your glasses? You've got to have the welding goggles.
Rules, regulations out the window, and we're going to win.
Well, absolutely, at all costs. I'm in there. See you out there. Maybe we were becoming just a little too cocky. And when Cocky Brocky lost his hat, waving to a chopper crew...
He lost his hat. He stopped. Get ready. Get ready. They lost his hat.
My navigating skills were just about to let us down.
What's our ref?
Rat fink. Rodent features. Really fast, really fast.
Really fast, yeah.
RF stands for right fork, of course, but when I thought of it, it was too late to help Brocky.
No, I think
I've never heard such gibberish.
I'm in a bath.
You dirty mongrel.
I know. Hey!
He's still got it, well and truly. But he's got enough sense to know, and I'm very proud of all this, that he's stepping out at the top of the tree and he's going to put himself in where all his experience will work for him.
A broken windscreen now for Peter Brock, and if he hasn't got enough problems today...
That'll be murder to see through that and on the sunlight coming up pit straight.
If it wasn't for him breaking the windscreen and not pushing the other one back, he would have won.
What more appropriate time to see Brock in for a very fast pit stop. The windscreen is now out.
There's been a flag given to Peter Brock by the clerk, of course, to say that he must report to the pits, because if you remove your windscreen in Australian touring car racing, you must remove the rear window as well.
Yes, here he is going flat out.
He's taking the pit
down
lane.
the curbs.
Watch the team go to work. This is where he takes on some passengers just for a moment.
Boom.
Boom. Goodbye, Pete. Super kick.
Close the door and away he goes. Quickest pit stop of all time.
I just threw a helmet on, I just got out there, just went for it, just blasted along. It was just sort of like, this is a new adventure. This is something different again. This is something really to be experienced.
Here he comes from behind. No front windscreen, no rear windscreen. Air-conditioned mountain racing for Peter Brock as he storms down the outside.
I always look at it and say, this is a fantastic opportunity. If you don't like it, you're not going to do too well.
Peter Brock looking for him heading towards the pit area.
Well, he's in the pits.
And after an absolute sensational run, Brock gesturing to mechanics what the problem is. And I think I heard someone shout, forget it.
The famed Peter Brock Commodore, co-driver Alan Moffat at the wheel, slammed into a concrete wall at McPhillamy Park on the top of the mountain.
I steered it into the wall. It was practice at Bathurst on Friday, fortunately. It was raining again. I was following another car very closely across the top of Skyline, and I dropped the right rear wheel off the track, which unfortunately there was a trench there with many of other people that had done the same. And the car instantly just turned left. And it was the one time when I really did say, this is going to be interesting, because it's an 800-foot drop on the other side of that wall. And the front went up and scraped itself all the way along the wall, but didn't quite have enough momentum to go over. And it actually fell down again on the track, but of course smashed the whole front end.
Mechanics and paddle beaters had an all-night bash, and by late Saturday, it was back on the track.
But I do remember clearly Peter's reaction, and he never made me feel small. He was very good about it.
Set to go, green light, they're away. Brock gets away to a great start. Sideways. He gets away, the best is going to be Brock. Perkins has got the outside run, but Peter Brock will take him through the first corner.
Good run for Perkins, great.
Side by side up Mountain Straight for the first of 161 times. This big field of V8 sort themselves out, but it's Peter Brock
in 0.5. He'll lead this field up Holden Hill toward Repco Corner for the first time.
Cricket Fitzgerald got away quite nicely as well, but it's Brock Jones coming up the outside of Perkins as well. They hit Repco Corner. The big V8s, they climb the mountain. Let's hear them roar.
Big field up toward GIO Cutting. It's Peter Brock in charge. Larry Perkins in second. Alan Jones in the Komatsu forward. And listen to the crowd greet this field as they thunder across the top of the mountain for the first time. Big cheer for the mountain man, Peter Brock in 0.5. This is where they want him. For 161 laps, 0.5 leads them down through the cutting, down toward Forest Elbow for the first time. Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore locked in second. Alan Jones the first of the forwards. Then it's Glenn Seaton. Big field swings down Forest Elbow for the big run down Conrod Straight, reaching speeds in excess of 290 kilometres an hour.
What a determined start it was from Peter Brock in the 05 Mobile HRT Commodore. He sort of got pretty sideways off the start, but he was so determined to hit Hell Corner first.
Well, he did, but how about Jonesy? Really excellent start, and interesting to see the speed down the straight. There's not a lot to choose between any of them. Top four, virtually the same.
Well, they'd all want to be sitting in that big draft at the start just to get their tyre temperatures up, get nicely settled. They don't want any mistakes like spins this early in the race. So all the field sort themselves out. Fabulous sight as they sweep through Caltex Chase and down toward Murray's Corner for the first time. And listen to the crowd roar. It's Peter Brock leading the Primus 1000 Classic as they cross the line for the first time.
Well, settle in and get nice and comfy. That's one down. We've got 160 to go here at Mount Panorama. Perkins got away to a terrific start as well from fourth, coming up into second. Jones from sixth to third. Seaton's gone backwards a little bit. There's John Faulkner, who started from eighth position. 2:15.70 for Brock. First flying lap. Larry Perkins in behind, Alan Jones, Glenn Seaton, and it's Greg Murphy in the second Holden Racing Team Commodore. John Bauer in the Shell Ford, Wayne Gardner, Steve Johnson, John Faulkner and Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Falcon in 10. Tony Longhurst is already on a charge. You saw him off the back of the grid. He's already up to 19th position. 20 positions he's made.
He's made up 20 positions in 6.2 kilometres. Tony Longhurst is on a charge.
You'd have to say that's a pretty determined effort. And look, Longhurst was saying all we need is a pace car, and I might just as well have been on pole position.
Well, Charlie O'Brien said earlier with John Smales, he said it's the best race car I have ever driven.
Can Rocky make it clear to 1997? Following Peter Brock was the HCP and HSV Oval Club of New South Wales.
This guy's John Cleland.
Good afternoon, or morning, or whatever.
He raced with me in 1993 in a Holden Commodore, which was going magnificently until, through sheer driver abuse, he just destroyed
You broke
it. I can't believe
You broke it. You have that. One thing about Brock, he has this absolute uncanny knack of giving the cars to his teammates just as they're about to brake. It never breaks when Peter's driving it, but as soon as he hands the keys to someone else, it breaks. He's got his own absolutely uncanny knack.
Peter's been very skilled on occasions at extracting himself from dying or dead race cars and making sure that the record shows that some other victim actually sat in it when it was officially killed.
Cars have always behaved themselves when I'm driving, and I mean, it's a weird thing, but sometimes another driver gets in and they just fall apart at the seams.
It's almost as if the changing of the guard has already started. Mark Scaife, the new addition to the Mobile Holden Racing Team, stealing the spotlight momentarily from his mentor, putting the 05 Commodore on the front row for today's big race. Scaife's hot lap came towards the end of the shootout session. 1997 Shell Series champion Glenn Seaton, the man to beat.
The crowd just cheering Mark. They're so happy to see the 05 Mobile HRT Commodore out there.
As he scaled the top of the mountain, urged on by the huge crowd, Scaife gave the 05 one final push, clocking a 2:10.03, the fastest time ever recorded by a V8 driver at Bathurst.
Scaife on a pole! A 2:10.03. He's undercut Seaton by 0.8 of a second.
let's go to Neil Crompton.
As it turned out, the 88 Bathurst 1000 was a bit of a disaster for us.
Take us round a lap of Mount Panorama, Neil, with this unbelievable headlight cam.
Peter was in the pit lane with Mickey Mouse ears on.
See if you can tee up Brocky for a have a chat. I want to talk to him about the car.
And we started this crazy banter.
It's Brocky. Brocky? Yeah. G'day, buddy. How are you?
Very good, Crompton. Oh, you weren't quite close enough that curb there.
Go here.
8-3 along here in fourth.
No, I got to fifth, Brocky.
Oh, come on.
To this day, all kinds of people come up and say, what on earth was all that about? But it was pretty funny. We go right back to 1970 and I was only this big standing next to Peter Brock and looking up and saying, excuse me, mister, can I get an autograph? And anybody who really knows me, I mean the old mates, know that I've always wanted to do this.
Now he's an integral part of the Brock organisation. In fact, last week he beat the boss in his BMW, putting it on the second row of the grid.
Shirt doesn't really go with those jeans, Dad. Yeah.
Because the stuff that turns him on is pretty mundane, I reckon. Sort of looking at kangaroos and birds in the trees, that sort of stuff. As soon as he gets home, like, that's it. I've got to go and do something on the track, to go and dig some holes somewhere, you know. That's him. He likes that stuff.
The pond that Peter Brock made. Ooh. The sun that Peter Brock made. She's got semi-ran a little bit, right?
Lucky these little bones of rubbery at age, isn't it?
No, it's a stretch. Hey.
He's a remarkably creative fellow and he does like his quiet time. So, you know, his art and drawing, he is a wonderful talent and he could honestly make his living with his art if he ever took the time to sit down and do it.
Oh, they had it coming.
Purple shirt is really ugly.
Who's this one?
Jessica's.
Quick, focus on the cows. We'll do it.
We always go up on the Monday and we share the drive, and it's been some interesting drives over the years. The kids come along, we've always had them with us or got them babysat up there.
Done some AMP corporate guests.
He still tells me when to change gears, what lane to be in, when to overtake, when to slow down, and even though he's pretending to read a book, you get this hand that goes at the side. Somehow I make it every year. I don't know, I still don't know, 25 years on and I'm still getting lessons and I obviously still haven't learned, slow learner.
You recording?
Where now? The light's all wrong, it's like reflecting off the river.
Well, here we are on the banks of the Murrumbidgee and the Narrandera. Stopped here many times in the past. This is the last time though, I'm stopping here as a race driver. So what do you think about that, kids?
I know. I'll be able to teach Dad how to use a computer.
I'm going to get him to take me go-karting. Next ski season I'm going to teach him how to snowboard.
Hopefully he won't be home too much more. I shouldn't say that.
Why is that?
Because he'll find me 100 more things to do every day when he's at home.
Sanity. Yay! Sanity? What's sanity?
I don't know, it's been a fact that's been missing from our lives for a lot of years.
What's been missing, Ben?
Sanity.
Sanity.
if he can do a 10th victory this year, I think the mount will go off. It'll erupt. It'll be a volcano.
He's a legend. I don't know, he's just good.
Yeah, you pause! Yeah, Rocky's the man. Why not? It's the man of the moment. Final day. We ain't heaven. What's so special about Brock? I've been on fucking sleep the last 30 years.
Peter's got an amazing eye, and if you put a badge on and it's a fraction off being square, he knows, he picks it. It doesn't look square, does it? It follows a stitching line for the thing, but when you've got it on, oh well. Off it comes. He'd pick it up as soon as he saw it. All the promotional material. Peter sort of did all that type of stuff as well, plus make a lot of it. Oh, well, all the designs on the t-shirts were Peter's, all the artwork. You know, we'd sort of sit around and play around at home. All the race jackets, and it became too big a business to operate as part of your team. It became a separate entity into itself. First practice sessions, always a doozy. It's just hearing their comments when they come back and get out of the car, seeing the expression on their face, and it's great actually just watching the drivers talk to each other at the end, you know, of their stint, their session.
Just tipped the curb on the inside, got sideways, corrected a bit, came back the other way, slid along the track, hit the sand as I was almost stopping, or felt like I was almost stopping, tripped the car over and just rolled along the road.
Well, Brocky's obviously been an icon in motorsport. He's a national hero and he deserves all the credit that he's obviously been given. But this weekend he seems as though he's taken a new direction. He's championed the cars on four wheels and now he's taken to driving them upside down, which is a new thing for Brocky.
What did you just purchase today and for how much?
2 wheels, they're broken, for $300.
What are you going to do with them?
Absolutely no idea.
Can you please put your hands together for the Peter Brock off the 930 Rebel car, driven by James Brock.
Well, it wasn't really hard, just a lot of hours, really, yeah, quite a lot of hours. Just planning, you know, making sure everything's in the right position before it all gets welded in there and stuff like that. I mean, all the bits are there, all the main bits are there, but all the fiddly bits, brackets and bits and pieces, that was just the time-consuming bit, just getting it all bolted in there properly. Yeah. Every time he's got in the car, like, he's just got this smile from ear to ear, you know, so I don't think he ever think he'd see this car again, basically.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be driven round by the king of Mount Panorama, and here he is, Brocky himself. Let's go.
Now, it might be a nightmare.
The one and only Motormouth, the voice of international motor racing. Murray Walker, OBE, is about to be introduced to Mount Panorama by this year's sentimental favourite, Peter Brock. Brocky's last Bathurst will be Murray Walker's first.
course, Peter's getting a little extra illegal practice now for Sunday's race. Not that he needs it. 9 times a winner. Into the dip up. Oh boy, I would not have missed this for all the tea in India and China put together.
Murray is the voice of motorsport, there's no doubt about it. You hear Murray Walker's voice and immediately your ears prick up because you think something's happening.
How fast do we go? 140 mile an hour. Wow! Over the crest. And this time we're really moving. Line perfect. Absolutely millimetre perfect. Feed in the power. I can feel the grip. There's a helicopter overhead. I wonder if it's taking pictures of us. I'll put my fingers out. There we go. Get some welly, Peter. Let's go for it. Up on the curve. Checkered flag. Well, that really was the experience of a lifetime. I've been out with other drivers before, but never anything like this. Not in a car like this and not with a driver like this. Thanks, Peter. Wonderful.
Absolutely my pleasure.
You're a star.
Derek, excuse me, Derek. Can we just get you and Peter together very quickly?
Nah, I'm not going to embarrass Brocky.
Get out there and have a bit of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get fired up for the 1997 AMP Bathurst 1000. And to do the honours, the 3-time former world driving champion, Australia's own Sir Jack Brabham.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
A great race for 97.
Is away, and for Australia, Peter Brock is driving the red and white Vauxhall Vectrum. 61 laps to go as they come down to and round Hell Corner. You can see Peter Brock is in 4th position in the red and white of Vauxhall Vectra.
This car seems to be running very nicely. Peter's got it in a very nice flow and going by people with reasonable ease. He's basically sat in this position most of the race. That was a little bit, I'm taking this if you don't mind.
Well, 2:12.49 for Peter Brock. That's a new lap record at 2:12.49 on his 3rd flying lap. So Peter Brock builds at 2.6 seconds the gap now over Perkins.
Brock, Brabham and Watts. There is the great man, Peter Perfect himself.
He's got a problem, like he's slowing down. It's a major embarrassment for the works team.
Oh, I know how they feel.
But here comes Brocky, so it's going to get very, very tight here.
Brock came in rather hastily because of the number of people around the pit area.
They were still working on the Plato car when this car came in. They're now frantically getting on with the business.
Scaife arrives in the pits, wisps some smoke from underneath. They're going for the fire extinguishers.
Just had a flame out up mountain straight.
Obviously won't be in contention.
But this is the man that Australia wants to see most of all, finishing his last Bathurst 1000 in style, maybe not with a victory, having scored 9 of them already. The great Peter was destined not to get into double figures.
I'm probably the most fortunate person here. To be age 52, to have had a career that's unfolded the way it has, to have gone through the highs and lows of life and through, I guess, the victories and defeats of motorsport, but to have gone out there, I guess, and blazed around the track. Looking out there at all the banners and fans, to me, that was a bit of a fairy tale ending. Look, don't be sad. This is life. I mean, the best is yet to come.